This is the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, and we're here to build autonomous athletes and put phenomenal programming into every garage, basement, and spare bedroom out there. I'm Jerred Moon, and I'm with Joe Courtney. We are strength and conditioning coaches who have turned over 20,000 people into garage gym athletes over the last decade. And we're here to reduce the information overload that exists in the health and fitness industry today. We're going to do that by covering relevant science and give actionable takeaways, not only from the data, but from our years of experience. So let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
It's always good to get together.
Yeah.
When we can.
Been a while, I feel like.
It's just always a while.
Yeah. You're moving, I'm moving, lots of crazy stuff.
Well, I'm not moving anymore. I'm just traveling,
you were moving, then you were traveling, and now I'm moving, but not traveling. But moving sucks. We will get into some updates for those who care about us or our personal lives, talk about our training a little bit. But what I do want everyone to know who's here listening now, what we're going over today, it's a study from April 2024, and the title is Enhanced Muscle Activity During Interrupted Sitting Improves Glycemic Control in Overweight and Obese Men. So very cool study. I'm a huge fan. I can't wait to dive into it and let everybody know about this one. But the funniest thing I think about this is the fact that they use the term interrupted sitting. It's just kind of like it's just a weird way to put it.
Sorry to interrupt your sitting.
I'm sorry for interrupting your lazy ass, but like we have to do something. But anyway, how's training been, man? How have you been? I mean, you have been traveling a lot, going back to the States, visiting some things in Europe. Like, have you been training? How are things going?
Surprisingly, I kept up with training pretty well when I had to go back to the States for 10 days. That was a hell of a jet lag, but I kept with it as much as I could. I actually woke up and went to the gym like first thing in the morning a couple of times at like 4 or 5 a.m. just to kind of keep with my cycle a little bit. And I had a PT test there, so the Air Force PT test, a mile and a half. I think I hit just about what I wanted. I wanted a sub 10 mile and a half. I got 10 exactly. So I'm still pretty happy with that.
That's pretty solid, man.
Yeah. And considering my running hasn't been as intense or as frequent because of my heel issues, but when I have been running, I've really been making it count. I was, my 400-meter splits were getting a lot better before I left, so I was pretty happy with that. And with a week of even though I was there for a week and then I did my test, I feel like jet lag still kind of has an effect on fitness. I know I did a run earlier in the week. I did 400-meter splits earlier in the week. I only did 6, and I was just like toast completely because just that travel was rough. Then we got back, went to England, and we didn't do any workouts there. We rented bikes one day, but came back and hit the gym. Definitely was sore and kind of feeling it last week, and then this week, first 2 days, I have hit them hard, and I'm really dialing it in. I'm actually feeling pretty good for the most part. I mean, sore as normal. My heel's getting a little bit better. I just ran today. It's going to be tight, but what happens. It's still good. It's getting hotter here. Muggy, but not as hot. Actually, still not as hot as Texas. So it's pretty dang nice. My gym is super muggy because it's the basement and it's humid here.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
You should get a DHU.
I got one, but this basement is ginormous. I actually have 2 of them.
Oh, nice. They fill up pretty fast.
Yeah, every day I have to change it at least once or twice. Yeah. If I come down like in the morning and I change it, and then I come back later in the day, I'd have to change it a second time. But either at least once a day, I'll come like when I do my workout, change them out, and then go on.
That's good, man. Well, good on you for maintaining consistency during all that. It is hard.
Yeah.
And getting a 10-minute mile and a half is no easy thing. Also, just for people so people are aware. Just trying to give you more of a compliment, but I just having done that test so many times, there's a big difference between me right now, just fresh, go running a mile and a half for time versus doing a max set of push-ups and a max set of
Sit-ups.
sit-ups, like right before you run, it makes a massive difference, especially the sit-ups. The sit-ups, I don't know if this still happens to you, but it always used to happen to me.
Hip
Kind of
flexor.
blows out the hip flexors, and so your run, it's different. It's almost like it's almost like you wearing it becomes a weighted vest run. That's like kind of the level of like complexity adds to how tired your hip flexors are from the Air Force style sit-up that you have to do. So still hitting a 10-minute after that is really awesome, because I know that when I used to do it, that was my biggest mistake I made early on in the Air Force. Is I would run the mile and a half, only train for the mile and a half, and I'd be like, I'm gonna smoke this thing. And then it gets to the PT test, and I hadn't trained with a little bit of fatigue, and the hip flexors are going all out. And because it's not like you're doing these max effort sets for like 10 minutes, they're relatively small sets, but blowing out the hip flexors right before you run a mile and a half is very difficult. So
Yeah,
good work, man.
Air Force bases. Thanks. Air Force bases are always windy. I felt good about it because even at 36, 35, 36 later this year. The PT standards have gone down, so like my score is whatever. It just gets a little bit better, but the 10-minute flat marks my third fastest time in the Air Force. That includes, back when I was 19.
You're like a fine wine.
Yeah,
getting better with age.
I'm hoping that I can still maintain the 10, maybe even a sub 10 next year if I can get some better, more consistency in running. But that's basically just what I want to do. Keep that for as long as I can.
Awesome, man. It's a good goal.
So, you have also been dealing with some adverse training stuff. So what's going on in your training world?
I just didn't train for the last month. No, I'm kidding. So I've been moving, and you and I've talked about it a little bit. Yeah, again, this should be the last one. But I mean, it's actually been one of the most difficult moves. And like I was saying, I talked to you about it a little bit already, but it was such a short move. It's only a 4-mile move. And so I underestimated that moving always sucks no matter what. And because I didn't mentally prepare and, let's say, actually prepare very much for the move, when it came to move, it just knocked me on my ass. It was so much more work than I thought it was going to be. And yeah, I don't want to move again for a really long time. I did maintain some consistency. I do think the main week of the move, when things were most turbulent, I only trained like 3 times that week, but I still got like 25,000 steps every single day of that week that I was moving. That just to say like how much, moving, how much activity it actually is. But I only trained 3 times. Other than that, I maintained consistency. I had a kettlebell. I was doing some stuff, or I would be doing body weight stuff, doing some runs. But now I'm getting back into it and really just trying to jump back into hard to kill is what I've been doing more recently, since things have kind of gotten set up here at my new house with the gym and everything. Trying to do the IWTs, the 42-minute EMOMs, the runs. Like that's what I've been easing myself back into, because it was a huge bummer. Like this cycle that I programmed, I'm like super stoked about the programming, and I just want to do it. I want to do it from day one to the last day for all 12 weeks. But I had all these hiccups to where I couldn't follow the training how I wanted to. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish it out. Like even if it goes into the next cycle, I think I just love this style of training so much. I think I'm just going to keep at it and do this training, finish out the full 12 weeks. Like I said, even if it bleeds into the next cycle, because it's so much fun. I just really enjoy the training right now.
Yeah, I did the IWT lower body yesterday. Definitely smoked me a bit. I'll continue with the cycle. I honestly have no idea what I want to do next cycle. I was thinking about honestly doing a wave of Murph burner just to throw in, because I haven't done it. I really would like to do some vest stuff, and because it's running weather now, I mean, it'll be kind of gross actually, but just kind of been feeling it.
Did you do Murph on Memorial Day?
I didn't. Liz worked all weekend, so I had Landon all weekend. It was just him and I, so I wouldn't have had an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I did it. It was
not fun.
It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just I think that's the hardest workout for me mentally now, because of how good I was at that once. And it's not like I'm bad now. My time was actually still pretty good, because I still have like the running legs from all that training for the ultra. So So it wasn't terrible. My time wasn't terrible. I was actually pretty happy with that, but it just was when you're not doing it frequently, it's painful. It's painful to go through. But my run times were surprisingly good. I was like, oh wow, that was pretty fast because I hadn't been running with a vest, So when I threw that vest on, I was like, this is probably gonna slow me down quite a bit, but it didn't. Miles were good. Calisthenics sucked. I'm a little bit sore from it, but not too much. I think it was mainly the weather that made it suck. It was just like that morning when I did it on Memorial Day. I think it was like already 80 degrees and like 95% humidity because we've been getting so much rain, and it was mainly the humidity. But it was good. It was good to do that workout. I hadn't done it in a while.
Yeah, I know whenever it's like, if I'm actually planning on doing Murph, I try and do the calisthenics leading up to it, at least a little bit, because that seems to be, if I ever just do it fresh, like, okay, I haven't prepared at all, the calisthenics would be super slow, and the run would be the run. But if you actually prepare for it, I feel like you shave the most time down. Even if you do like the circuits of the calisthenics, that's where all your time we made up, and the run might improve a little bit, but really it's just the calisthenics to get used to. And I hate going through it and having to rest of like push-ups and stuff like that.
I always get asked like 1,000 times when Murph is coming up. Either, I mean, people in person ask me, people ask me online or whatever. It's like, what do you think of, like, how are you going to do Murph? You're going to do it the hard way where it's unpartitioned, or you're going to partition it? And I always have to explain to everybody that, like, what the difference is between the two. But yeah, if you want to move fast and you partition it, you have to prep for those, and just throwing in reps as much as you can, either actually training for it or doing it in warm up, cool down, whatever. I think those are all great ways to do it. And a great way to do it is something that ties in really nicely with the study is push-up grid, but we'll come back to that. Or squat grid. Let's talk about this study for a minute. So again, this was done 17 April 2024. The title of the article is Enhanced Muscle Activity During Interrupted Sitting Improves Glycemic Control in Overweight Obese Men. That's the actual full title. So let's just go over what it was. So the study was looking at how taking breaks from sitting or interrupting your sitting, how taking breaks from sitting by walking or squatting affects blood sugar levels. And this interests me for two reasons. One, I've been talking kind of about my blood sugar lately and how I've been tracking it with a CGM. So that was one thing that piqued my interest, but also how they did this. So the participants sat for 8.5 hours, and they were divided into 4 groups. So I do think it was randomized control, all those kind of things. Let me see. Hold on. I had it written down. Yeah, it was conducted as a randomized 4-arm crossover study. So each participants are randomly assigned to different intervention groups to minimize bias and ensure that groups are comparable. So anyway, participants sat for 8.5 hours. They were divided into 4 groups. And the first group was they would sit the entire time, which is crazy. You'd sit for 8.5 hours. That's group 1. Group 1. Group 2 is they would take one 30-minute walk at some point during this 8.5 hours. The third group was they took short 3-minute walks every 45 minutes. And the fourth group was they did 3 minutes of squats every 45 minutes, which was pretty awesome. And the goal of the whole thing was to find out if breaking up sitting time with short activities could help control blood sugar better than just sitting or taking a long walk. And the study found that taking frequent short breaks to walk or squat was the best way to keep blood sugar levels lower compared to just sitting or taking one long walk. So this means moving around more often can be very important for people who sit a lot. That's the study basics, but I'd love to discuss it a little bit more with you. What were some of your thoughts as you were taking a look at this study?
So I actually just wanted to clarify something because you mentioned the 4 different groups, but everybody did the 4 different protocols from what I've read.
Yes, I think everyone acted as their own control.
Yeah, and they did those in a random order, and there was 7 days in between each, so that there was no crossover contamination of what they did.
Right.
Um, I thought it was pretty cool. I think it's one of these kind of like creative um, studies that people somebody thought of is outside the box. It'd be better to get more people in it, but I think it was really good, and it's also one that's what I love is super easy to apply and for somebody to just do because like you don't need anything, you don't need to buy anything. You just hey every 45 minutes do squats, and the squats were it said 3 minutes of squats every 3 minutes of squats every 5 seconds. They did one rep. So it comes out to 36 squats every 45 minutes. They basically play a song. They would do it to a metronome or something like that. Kind of
Bring
like,
Sally up.
yeah, that's exactly my thought. Not quite the same tempo, but it's basically just think of playing Bring Sally Up every 45 minutes and doing squats to it. I don't know if you want to do that,
Yeah.
but go for it. So it was cool.
It wouldn't be that bad with air squats. But
no,
yeah.
especially holding at the bottom. Um, they did a lot more than I thought that like measuring wise, which I thought was really cool. They took diet logs from 2 days before. They measured some like taking their blood and measured things. They measured muscle activity. So I thought it was done pretty in depth. Some of the results they didn't share everything with the muscle activity, but so I thought it was really cool. I think it was conducted really well. Yeah.
Yeah, I had some of the same notes. Like I thought that how thorough they were was really awesome because with blood sugar, as I've kind of talked about in my experience in wearing a CGM, which I'm not currently wearing it, I've taken a short break from it. But ultimately, what I've learned is like each person is variable and can be very different. I respond differently to different forms of exercise. So the fact that they were looking at food logs and what was happening in people's lives, I thought was really important. But then, what's interesting about this is like a lot of us probably, I don't want to say we all sit for 8.5 hours, but a lot of people listening to this, I know you and I, we both have desk jobs. We probably don't sit for that long. I just think that we exercise, we probably move around a little bit more than that. But it's good to know that my preference would be to do something like a short bout of activity every 3 minutes as opposed to taking a break for 30 minutes and going to do a walk. Which I've tried and I've never been able to like get in a habit of doing that. Like I've never been able to consistently be able to be like, all right, I just ate lunch. I'm going to go on a 30-minute walk now. I've tried. I just can never stick with that habit. I don't know why. I'd just rather get back to work or do something else. And so I love that it's these short minute bouts because if you work from home like you and I do, and you did want to walk or hop on a ski erg or a rower for 3 minutes, and just do that every 45 minutes. Squats are the easiest one because you could just get up from your desk, do 3 minutes of squatting. Now, I do want to point out like the obvious, right? This was a study of 18 obese, overweight men, right? So overweight and obese men, uh, and so just take that into your frame of reference when you're doing this. But that's why I also like that there wasn't necessarily like you need to do 15 squats to see the results. It's 3 minutes. If I do 3 minutes of kind of maximum amount of squats, that's gonna be a lot of squats. I can do a lot of air squats. So it's gonna be relatively uncomfortable. And I think that might be the point in all honesty. Like I'm not saying that you probably have to go max effort, as many like truly as many squats as you possibly can every 45 minutes for 3 full minutes, because I think that would be kind of crazy. But I do think it shouldn't be, if you're a fit individual and you want to benefit from this, I think that it shouldn't be a going through the motions. I'm going to get up and do a couple of squats. Like I do think that it should be something that you are a little bit more serious about if you're trying to, regulate blood sugar. Because the theory behind it is like your muscles like basically turn into like glucose receptors when they are activated, like when they're being used. And so that helps basically suck some of the sugar, the blood glucose out of your blood as opposed to it circulating. Your muscles are gobbling it up. But I think that obviously the more trained you are, I I think that the harder, well, I feel like it could go either way. The easier that is to activate or the harder it is to activate, if that makes sense. Like I think, it might be easier in some regards to get your body in that motion, but at the same time, if you're fitter, it takes like
Takes
a
more.
significant effort for it to like truly matter. So I would say stay focused on that time frame if you want to add this into your day. 3 minutes of whatever you're gonna do. But the thing that oh, and last thing on that, the reason I don't think it has to be like crazy amount of squats is because 3 minute walk is a 3 minute walk. Like you can walk at a brisk pace, but just think about the effort it takes to do a 3 minute walk at a brisk pace. Like where are we at the squats? Like you don't have to like go complete max effort. That was my last point there. But the reason I like this study was, one, we're talking about blood glucose control, which is something I'm really interested in because I am going to put my CGM back on probably this week sometime. But also, two, well, it's something that we've been talking about for a decade is these grids, right? These push-up grids, squat grids, pick an exercise, do a grid. While it doesn't perfectly coincide with these 3 minutes every 45 minutes, it does coincide with doing some sort of physical activity every 45 minutes to an hour throughout your workday. So if you haven't heard us talk about the grid, Joe, I mean, you could easily explain it. What is the grid here at Garage Gym Athlete? Like, how would you explain it?
You pick an exercise that you want to do. You pick the dimensions of a grid. So think of like a tic-tac-toe board is 3x3. So you pick, 4x4, 5x2, whatever shape you want, whatever size grid you want. And then throughout the day, anytime you want to do reps, you do reps, whatever reps you want to do, and you put a number in one of those blocks, and you just have to fill the grid that day. Your reps can be random. How I do them, because of, I don't know, uniformity, my reps are always the same for
Yeah.
every set. So whatever I started as, so say I do 15 push-ups, all of my sets are going to be 15 push-ups for the day. Or there's even times where I've done, if I really need to, like especially when we've done this when we've been like stuck in hotels, I'll do 2 exercises, and on the grid I'll put a slash in the middle of each box, and I'll have 2 different sets of reps for like a push-up and a squat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very similar. I don't like to do random sets every single time. I've done that before, but yeah, it feels a little weird. I try to do similar to you. I try to do 20 every single time, but here's what I recommend for people who want to truly build this into a habit. And this is just kind of like behavioral like 101. Start with a small grid, possibly just a line and a line, right? Like so 4. That would be like just 4, like a 4 grid. And just do 5 sets of 5. 5, 5, 5, 5. And again, you're probably not getting the blood sugar control response there. You're not going all out. But again, we're talking about building a habit. Start small if this is something you truly want to add to your day. And then every single week, change something, add something to it. Because I've recommended this to a lot of people over the years. And here's what I've seen people do. I've seen people draw like a 10 by 10 grid on their first day because in your mind, you think, oh, this is so easy. Like, I'll just do it. So they draw a 10 by 10 grid and they do like 10 or 20 push ups and they go all out. They just go crazy with it. And then they're like so sore the next day because you'll be surprised that this can make you sore. If you're not accustomed to doing like reps like this, you will be sore almost no matter what time, whatever you pick. So anyway, start small with it. Start with a small grid. Start with small reps. After it's been a week, either add more reps to that grid or make the grid bigger until I end at probably I think it's a 12 set grid. I think 3 lines and 3 lines. I think that's 3, 6, 9. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
9.
Yeah. Is it? Well,
So three
whatever's
by 4 would be
so I think I do
12.
a 3x4. Yeah, I think that's where I kind of end up is doing 12 because that will end up being if I did 10 push-ups, 120 or 240. Yeah, that's typically where I land on the push-ups. And so yeah, I'd say that's about the max I ever go. So that's not like my common everyday thing. That's about my max is a 3x4. So I'm doing 12 sets of stuff. And I used to just do this like in my notebook. Like I would just for that day on a piece of scratch paper, I would draw like whatever I was feeling that day. And I'd kind of change it per day. If I was like, you know what, I really want to do some crazy stuff, then I do the the 3x4 grid. If I was like, I'm not really feeling it as much, I might just do a 2x2 or whatever, something smaller. But I really enjoy having that in my work day because I just feel like it's a great way to put some movement in it.
Yeah, I've definitely done the 5x5s, and like halfway through, the day's almost done. I'm like, holy crap, this is a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I never like because I always want to finish it. So what happens sometimes if I do a grid that big, like what you're talking about, is I would just get to the end of my day and I want to finish it. So I would just sit there and do like 6 sets of 20 push-ups, like with minimal rest, like rest 30 or 40 seconds, and then just do another. Like I would
Yeah,
just keep doing. I'm like, this kind of defeats the purpose of what I was trying to do. Like if I want to work out, I'll go work out. Like I'm just
yeah,
trying to get a little extra movement into the day. And so, just know what it's for. And like I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, doing stuff like this is a great way to stay prepped for Murph to some degree. Because if you do it, like say you work 5 days a week, you could easily do push-ups, you could do sit-ups, you could do squats, you could do pull-ups. And this is something I used to do before we called it the grid or whatever. I did this when I was on active duty in the Air Force. Um, when I was with the operators and special tactics, like there was a pull-up bar right outside. Like I'm talking like our area was like here. There was like a desk 5 feet away from a door 5 feet away from us that led to the outside, and there was a set of pull-up bars. And I convinced everybody to do this. I was like, let's do it. I think we tried every hour on the hour and also every 30 minutes on the minute, if you will. And we would go do, I think it was like 10 to 20 pull-ups. And we were working like 9-10 hour days. And so we would knock out a crap ton of pull-ups. And so that was just, again, if you have access, like you can get a pull-up bar hangs on a door frame, right? You can do it all sorts of different ways. But this is a great way to get good at calisthenics without having to like do a specific training program for it. You just throw this into your day because I'm still going to work out. This is just extra movement that I'm trying to get in throughout the day, so I'm not so sedentary.
yeah. I'd also plan it on how often you want to do it. Like if you're setting a timer, because I think I have to set a timer sometimes. 'Cause I definitely forget about it.
Yeah.
So if you want to set a timer, if you wanted to do this 45-minute one, you're probably looking at so set a timer of 45 minutes. You're probably looking at a 2x5, which is just 10 sets, which is exactly what they did here. So if you want to do your 40 every 45 minutes for 10 sets, then it's just a 2x5 grid and that's it. It's not a 4x4 or something like that. So that's also why starting small.
Yeah, let's see. I think so. Great. Another like productivity tip here um, is the Pomodoro technique. This is for productivity, and so what you're supposed to do is you set a timer for 25 minutes, and then you're supposed to do focused, no distractions work for 25 minutes. After those 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, and then after you've done that 3 times, you take a longer 30-minute break. Um, I've done this like extreme productivity style where I'm like 25 minutes focused work, 5-minute break. And during every single one of those breaks, I would do calisthenics or something like that. Just some sort of, I would either stretch or do a couple squats or whatever. And then that longer break, go eat lunch or something like that. So if you want to like intertwine a productivity technique with also, just getting in some additional reps, that's a great way to do it as well. Because I definitely, if I just don't have a very good plan for the day and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do a push-up grid today, I'll forget. Yeah, same. I'll just be like, oh shit, I only did 3 of these, and then I got busy, and then I forgot. So setting timers throughout the day is a great way to get it done as well.
Yeah, I've definitely found it harder because even if I start one like on a post-it or my notebook, like it's going to be at my desk, but I'm not always at my desk. I like go work on my laptop somewhere or go walk around the house or something. So like my grid is out of sight, out of mind. So I have to find a little bit better of a technique on how to do that.
You get like an EMOM timer on your, or just set like a timer on your watch every hour. Like, and then you have to remember to restart it though at the end of the push-ups. But that's not
That's
terrible.
true. Yeah, I have actually forgotten to restart it in the past.
Like, damn it.
When we were just like staying in hotels and I was watching the kid, I think I set one for every 30 minutes and I was sitting around like 15 minutes, like, oh, I wonder when my next set is up. Oh crap, there's no timer.
Damn. I guess I'll go now.
Yeah, basically.
Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Is there anything else you want to cover from the study?
Yeah, I actually have two takeaways that kind of that aren't really what the study takeaway would be. I mean, um mine were for how to use this for you. So it did, like we said, it did the young, overweight, obese men. They were young. If I wanted to, if I actually were honestly giving a younger guy uh, tips or some sort of like fitness advice on how to do this, I'd probably wouldn't be telling him this necessarily exactly. I'd probably be talking about working out and other habits. And so I would think it makes more sense to encourage this on like older people because they're not moving as much. They're sedentary, and it's not because of like necessarily their choice. They got more wear and tear on their body. They just don't move as much, move as well. But to do any sort of movement for just older people, not like super old people, like 50, 60, 70, probably 60, 70, 80, is just, hey, get up every hour, hour and a half, and just do just as low as you can go, half squat, whatever it is, just a little bit of a squat, because they're sitting so much and like they're just losing their muscle mass, their lean mass anyway. So I think to encourage this, like I probably the next time I'll get on the phone with my parents, I'll probably tell them about this study, to be honest, because I just think it has really good application. And one thing they found with the study is um, the walking had more quad activation and the squats had more glute activation. I think the glutes are a big important part, especially with it comes to your back and people having back issues and just not engaging your hips with anything and like they're and like bending over and all of that. So I think that is a big pro, especially for older people. And then that leads me into the second one, which is for the fit people. While they did cite a study that this technique doesn't really affect the fitter groups because their blood sugar doesn't really they're getting that from their workouts. I do think keeping your muscles active with something what you were talking about, but if you're prepping for a workout, if you have a workout later in the day, but you sit all day, keeping your muscles somewhat active and awake will make it easier to go into your workout later, whether it's warming up, whether it's doing something. But if you're just sitting all day, I find that that's really, really hard to start a workout, especially if you're doing like some sort of lower body. So keeping your glutes active and awake and your hips, I think will make a big difference for even the fit people. And we're not even talking about like max effort sets. We're just talking about, do 20, 30 air squats every hour. And then that'll be a good enough, just like sort of a primer to keep your muscles awake.
Yeah. And what I want to do is come back to the podcast after I'm wearing my CGM and kind of see what doing grids throughout the day does. Not necessarily following their exact format, but just like doing a grid and seeing what my blood sugar does. See if it's like really stable all day, and maybe eat the same foods and then don't do it. Kind of act as my own experiment. I definitely want to try that over the next couple of weeks and bring that back to the podcast and let people know kind of how it's been working for me. But I do think that's what I've noticed just I mean, honestly, I think I wore the CGM for almost 3 months before I took a break right now. And that's what I was noticing is the more movement I had throughout the day, the better I was doing, in all honesty, like with blood sugar and everything. And the only real reason I'm taking a break, actually, if anyone wants to know, is like, oh, why take a break? My mail forwarding is not really working, and my next set of CGMs are like lost in the mail currently. So that's the only reason I'm not. And my last one expired like 5 days ago, and so it's like, oh well, I guess I'll take a break until my mail finds me again.
So you didn't just
anyway.
like 4 miles away wait for that one to show up and then switch it or something.
Well, no, it was like on auto ship, and I had luckily thought to change my address, but I didn't. I don't know. It's been weird because yeah, I won't get into all that, but it's like new construction. They like don't know how to ship things to my house yet and all this kind of crap. But anyway, yeah, so that's the only reason I'm taking the break. But you had a good point there that I wanted to hit on before we kind of sign off, is that I do think the muscle activation is important. That's another thing when I get my CGM back that I want to test, because I don't think a push-up grid, while I think that's awesome to do and I love doing them, I don't think it will be as effective at like blood sugar regulation. I think it'll still get you really good at reps and everything. But the reason I don't think it would be as good is because the muscles you're moving, deltoids, triceps, pecs, not as big, right? But like what you're talking about, glutes, quads, hamstrings, that's all squats, right? I also think if you could do pull-ups, if you could do a pull-up grid, that's got a lot more muscle involvement than push-ups because your lats are massive. They span your entire torso pretty much. And then it's also, you're getting some deltoid and bicep and forearm strength, so I do think pull-ups would probably have a similar response as squats would. But, if you are looking for true like blood sugar regulation, think about that as well. Like what's going to activate the most. But damn, think about doing burpees, man. Like if you did burpee grid, I mean, like
That's not
how
muscle.
about
That's just
a
lungs.
burpee thruster, like jump every, you know what I'm saying? Like just
Why
like
you
let's
gotta?
just involve everything that we possibly can. So what you do is you drop down to your body. When you get up, you kind of get up into a squat, and then you jump. You do a thruster jump, right? So it's like mm, an advanced burpee. It's like a harder burpee.
Why are you the way that you are?
Well, just think there's so much. There's nothing. You got everything there. You're doing a push up. You're getting off the ground, getting a full squat. You're doing a jump. That's dynamic. It's explosive. It's got to be.
Yeah, but you can't. I just being explosive after sitting just doesn't bode well for
Yeah.
me. Doesn't feel
Well, and
good.
that's what I always run into when I was like trying to do these, like at work, if you will, like when I was in the military, is like if you didn't have a group kind of doing it with you, it was just weird to be the guy who's like getting up and doing push-ups every 45 minutes or to an hour. It's like, oh, that guy. I don't mind being that guy, by the way. I'll be that guy. Like I will be that weirdo who brings his food from home and also does squats every 10 minutes or every hour or whatever. I don't care about being that guy, but you don't want to be that guy. I'd rather get everyone else involved to do the same thing that I'm doing. So
I should do that next time I do my drills. They do now at the ones that I go through. A couple people have treadmills under the desk. They have approved,
yeah, I've
and
seen that.
they
Yeah.
give some people. So there's a guy that he's an ultra guy, so he's always spending time on his feet just because he does ultras. But there's a few people who have just walking treadmills under their desk, which is pretty cool.
I don't think I could do it. I don't.
The walking,
I I don't think I could walk and work. I could
no.
walk and answer emails. That's about it, I think. But I couldn't do like any actual focused work walking. I don't think.
Yeah, it depends on the task for sure. I could probably input programming, but like you're moving more. I feel like I
I
don't
could
know.
podcast and walk. I know Ben Greenfield does that now. I've seen lots of videos of
Ben
all his
Greenfield does
podcast.
a lot of things that we found that was
Yeah, I
he's a
mean,
special
he's
guy.
doing like a coffee enema every other day or something too. I don't, but I do think I could walk and podcast as long as I prepped for the podcast well enough. Like I could walk and podcast, but anything focused beyond that, I couldn't sit and program or like do anything else. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's wrap it up.
Actually, I had one follow up question. Now that you're in your
Okay.
house,
Yes.
how long? Even though you basically look down into your gym, how long until you install a pull up bar into your office?
Yeah. I don't know. I was already looking at the Rogue Jammer. Have you seen that?
No.
It's I think they call it the Rogue Jammer bar. So there are those like door jam pull up bars that kind of like hook into it, right? This
Yeah.
one like drills into it. Like this
Okay.
drills into above your threshold, like into the studs or the threshold piece of wood above your
Hmm.
door. So I was looking into that, but I think my door is too small.
Huh.
Like it's I will have to look to see if it's adjustable on the Rogue side. You have to go check it out and you'll see what I'm saying. But like I think my walkway might be too small, and if that's the case, then there's nowhere in here I can do it. So I'll only have a pull up bar in the gym,
Well,
like a
unless you do
loser.
the one you used to do, which just straight from the ceiling.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get Emily on board with that. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Already making holes in a new
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. But like, and there's already a gym that she thought was too
Yeah.
big and unnecessary to
Like,
begin with. So
you
yeah.
literally see it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, see. All right. Well, if you want to check out the study again, the title was Enhanced Muscle Activity During Interrupted Sitting Improves Glycemic Control in Overweight and Obese Men. You can also find this study at Garage Gym Athlete if you go to our blog. We link to all of our studies in the show notes, so you can go check it out there as well. But that's it for this one. If you want to be a part of our training, the IWTs, the 42-minute EMOMs that I was talking about earlier in the podcast, you want to do what I'm doing right now, and what Joe's doing, and a lot of Garage Gym athletes are doing, then go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a free trial. We would love to have you there. And then if you are a current athlete, really appreciate you sticking around, doing the training, supporting us, supporting the podcast, and supporting the training. And if you do like the podcast, if you want to leave us a 5-star review and a positive comment, we'd really appreciate it. Helps the show out, helps it find more people. But that's it for this one. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.